Yeah, so this is the in-cab adjuster for my Rancho 9000 shocks that I have on my 4Runner. And so the way this works is you've got a switch here that controls a small air pump, and I have that pump located in the engine bay. And then that pump feeds compressed air to an air manifold, and then I believe out of that one manifold there's an air line that runs to the front shocks and another line that runs to the rear shocks. And then you've got this control unit here, and what it does, it's got two pressure gauges here that measure the front and the rear air pressure that go to the shocks, and then you've got two Schrader valves here that you can let air out of the front or the rear air circuits. The switch here runs the pump. It pumps both sides up to whatever pressure you want, and then you can bleed the pressure off with these Schrader valves. The two gauges here register the pressure from 1 to 5, which is just like your shock has this adjuster. I think the newer ones go from 1 to 9 or something like that, but it's basically the same thing. You can turn this adjuster knob up or down to increase or decrease the damping in the shock. And the idea with this in-cab adjuster is you remove this screw knob and you replace it with an air fitting, and you plug an air hose in here, and the air pressure pushes on the little piston that this knob would normally push on. And so that lets you adjust the shock damping from inside the cab. So I have this mounted on my center console. I put this on probably 25 years ago, and the UV has turned all the plastic here that hold the glass away from the gauge. You can see how the glass is just loose there, and all the plastic bits have just fallen apart. So I've got a 3D CAD file that I can use to print new ones of these. One thing I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all the gauges to have a similar color. So I need to check these light bulbs too. Oh, that's not socketed. So I'll have to see if I can get a replacement bulb, because yeah, the two choices you have, you can either keep a regular white incandescent bulb and then put a green surround around the gauge, and that way it's got kind of a green tint to the backlight, because I'm trying to match everything to the dash lights, and I think all the dash lights, they're still incandescent, but they have like a green tint to the bulbs. So yeah, the thing I have to do though is pull these gauges out. So I'll get a nut driver and take those nuts off and get that clip off of there, and then I can pull these out. Okay, yeah, getting the bezel off of this gauge here. So what I do is start with a really small screwdriver, work your way around, just twisting the screwdriver up, and you're trying to open up this crimped bezel. And then once you got this one all the way around, then you can go to a kind of a medium-sized blade and do the same thing. You don't want to go and bend this really hard. You're just trying to open it up evenly all the way around. So you go around quite a few times with that blade, and then get a heavier flat blade and do the same thing, and you're just trying to open up that bezel. If you try to go too far, you're just going to pull this side flat, so you just have to keep going around and around. You're just trying to get it evenly bent and pretty much straight. It probably won't come directly off, but if you just keep going around until you find where you see some daylight there. You see all of a sudden I've got a little bit of daylight. And let's see if I can get that. Yeah, there we go. Here you have to be really careful because you've got the glass in there. So you don't want to like pry down like that, because you'll break the glass and then you're in trouble. So you just pop that off, and then let me get all the chunks out of there. I'm going to save one of these bigger chunks so I can do a little measuring, because I need to measure how thick it is and how tall it is, because that's what sets the height of the glass off of the face of the gauge. Apparently Rancho had these faces for these gauges made, and let's see what these are. 1.5 inches. So they're probably 1.5 inch gauges. So I get the inside diameter of the gauge, so that sizes my bezel, and then I get the thickness and the height of the little ring there. And so I'll punch those into my 3D CAD model. When I did this before, I did it on Fusion 360. I just made a 2 1/16 inch model, but I think I want to actually make an open SCAD model that you can change all the parameters instead of having everything hard-coded. So anyway, yeah, I'll show you what it looks like once I do a little bit of measuring and bulb testing and whatnot, and we can take a look at that. So stay tuned.